Hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's presentation of OTF Connects, Comparing Digital Tools with Jacqueline Calder. Thanks again for being here tonight and giving up some of your time so that you can further the learning of your students and yourself as well, and of course to share from and with each other. As always, we're thrilled to have Jacqueline here presenting. Jacqueline's done many OTF Connect sessions, and she is just spectacularly skilled with weaving technology and pedagogy and student engagement and just generally having a lot of fun in the classroom with amazing tools that are at our disposal. So thank you, Jacqueline. And of course, we're always thrilled to have a good spread of representation across the province here. So we've got some fun new places there. And Susan, you didn't get a chance to add to this yet. So if you want to grab a clip art and drop that on the map to let us know where you're at, that would be great. We'll pause a moment there while she does that. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move forward one more slide, and we'll hand things over to Jacqueline. And if you have any troubles, let me know in the chat, and we'll take care of you.
Thank you, Elise. Can everybody hear me okay? Is my sound coming through okay? You can just write in the chat. Awesome. Okay. Thanks. So my plan for this evening, and especially with a group this size, this is totally, that's odd. My headset on and everything, but hopefully that will clear itself up as we go. My plan for this evening is to look at some of the tools that are available either commonly in the board, so some of our big players, and then some of the tools that are available provincially. And then to have conversations about choosing tools for specific learning activities in our classrooms or specific situations. So please stop me anytime. This is definitely not about me having to get through any sort of material. I prefer that we have conversations and chat things through. I just feel like we are in a situation in Ontario where there are lots of good tools starting to be used. People are actually looking to us from around the world. But I think sometimes we don't know exactly what's out there, or we're ready to move on to that next step where we're comparing tools so that we can develop the skills of choosing the right tools. So that's kind of where my background is coming from. So there's two links that are in the chat right now. They're both actually linking to the same thing. So the chat that Luis has just put in is a link right to the Google slide deck that these slides were made on. So those aren't going to go anywhere. That link will be active. If you are writing it down, you can write down the link I've just put into the chat there. It's just a shortened link. And that will just take you to the slide deck separately. You don't need to follow along in a separate window because the slides will be up here tonight. But if you want to access those later, then by all means, go for it. Those aren't going to go anywhere. And I think I'm going to start by trying a web tour. I'm going to bring up a website on the screen in front of us, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed and see if this, sorry, Luis, have you ever seen a problem before that no matter where I try to type in the screen, it only comes up in the chat?
That might be your chat that's actually frozen. If your chat is unpinned, try repinning it, and if it's pinned, try unpinning it. Or you can go
How do I repin it?
Just drag and drop it somewhere below the participants.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so now let me try the web tour again. I couldn't write the name of my town before. Yep, that actually worked. Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't write the name of my town because it was just coming up in the chat, but let me just, this seems to be working now. Did that come up for everybody? Is there a website coming up in the middle called telhelp.ca?
Yep, we've got it. Or I've got it.
Oh,
anyone else can do
great.
Check mark if you like. Do you see it, Jacqueline? Is it coming up for you?
It is.
Okay, perfect.
It is, and I see it. Oh, it's not coming up for Brooke. Okay, so I'm going to put the, oh, now I can't type in the chat again.
Here, I'll get it.
Yeah, but I would like to prefer to be able to type in the chat if I need to, but okay, that works, thanks. So the link is in the chat. If it's not coming up in your window, Brooke, it might just be either, I can see that you're having a little bit of bandwidth issues tonight. Yeah, it might be, oh, you got it now. There you go, awesome, okay, perfect. So the reason I'm just coming here is so that a lot of the resources we're going to link to tonight and a lot of different materials are on this site. It's just a site that's thrown together, curating other resources and materials to support folks. So there's a couple tabs across the top, and one of them is learning activities. And if you click on the learning activities, you get, and I should have dragged you with me to that page, I think, on the screen. You get a list of different types of things you could do in a classroom. Creating animations or editing audio, digital storytelling, and each of those links to a page where it will just talk briefly about a couple different tools that could work for that. But basically, the resources that we would be using for most of this evening is on the board and provincial tools page. So I'm going to click on that link now and hopefully drag you guys with me. There we go. So this is the board and provincial tools. So a lot of school board, well, every school board, if you're in a publicly funded school, has access to D2L or Brightspace. D2L went and their tool now, so what we have always called D2L is actually called Brightspace, but by D2L. The company is still D2L, but they call their actual learning management system that we used to always call D2L, they call it Brightspace now. So I may refer to it as either D2L or Brightspace, or sometimes we refer to D2L, this learning management system, as the VLE. And the VLE stands for the Virtual Learning Environment. And the reason that that is used often, and every time the ministry refers to it, they refer to the VLE, or the Virtual Learning Environment, because in their minds, they're always going to have a virtual learning environment, and every so often they have to put out an RFP to get bidders to bid to be that product and to provide that product for them. Right now, we're using Brightspace by D2L. That could change in the future if someone else won out and could manage to do everything else that D2L does right now. So and part of their RFP is always that everything would transfer right over and whatnot. But right now, our VLE is Brightspace by D2L. So sometimes we hear it referred to as D2L or as Brightspace or the VLE, just to make sure that we're all thoroughly confused. So that's a provincial tool. And then the other two tools that many boards have chosen one of at this point in time is either Google Apps for Education, or GAF, or Microsoft Office 365. My school board just happens to have both, but I'm wondering if you guys could throw up in the chat if your board has one of those two tools, which one you use. Cool. Well, there you go. We are all in boards that use Google tools. Interesting. Okay, so then I will take that into consideration as we go through the tools tonight, and I will limit what I'm showing you in Office 365. I'll still talk about the differences, but when I go to show you, I'll just show you parts that you can access without having access to the full 365 when I do little previews or demos. Does that make sense for everybody? And if there's something then that you want to see in more detail, then just let me know. But I will definitely take that into consideration. Okay, further down on that page, you'll see something about SCUDSy Live that we can ignore. That's specific to the school board that I work with. And then we have a list of board purchase and provincially licensed web-based digital tools. Only one of those tools, the My Blueprint, is specific to my board. The rest of them are all web-based tools that are provincially available. And if you click on them, it tells you a little bit about the tool. If you need access to figure out how to access that tool or how to get a login or a password depending on the tool, then there is something called a Technology-Enabled Learning Teacher Contact, or a TELT, in every board. In my school board, I'm the TELT, but every publicly funded board in Ontario has this TELT person. I'm curious if any of you guys, and I'm not looking for names, but do you know how to reach the TELT in your board if you had a question about provincially funded tools? Do you have a way to access that person in your board? Okay, so if you get into a situation where you don't know how to find access to one of these digital tools, I'm going to make sure you have my email, and I can find that person for you and have them give you a shout. So if we get to one of these tools tonight and you think, oh, that's something I'd like to try, but I don't know how to tell you how to log in because it's something specific to your board, then you can fire me off an email and I will let that person know for you to get in contact with you. So that will work for that. And then just down below, that is in the orange circles, is a list of tools that are provincially licensed software. Now this isn't all of the software tools that are licensed provincially, but these are some of the ones that are used most often. And these are the ones that have take-home rights for teachers and or students. So if I'm looking at these tools, I see Frames and WordQ. I can get either the disk or the download files, and I can install those on my own computer. And for WordQ, it can be installed on a student's computer, a personal computer as well. Most of them are just teacher take-home rights, but a few of them, WordQ and Geometry Sketchpad, have student take-home rights as well. So if they have their own laptop, they can install them. And we'll talk about what some of those tools are at the end. My thought was to start with our big three players, and we will focus more on the two of D2L and Google. So this web page, this tellhelp.ca, is here and isn't going anywhere. I'm just going to show you one other page on it, and then I will go back to the slide deck. So hopefully it will drag everybody with us. I'm going to click on the Digital Tool Bank. The Digital Tool Bank is a list of different digital tools with just a link to them with a very quick overview on what they are. Again, this is in no way an exhaustive tool, but if you were looking for a tool to do something specific, you could always just check here and see if there's a link. The questions at the top of the page in green are really, really important, and we're actually going to talk about those later on, just about how to assess a tool when we're going through to decide whether or not it's an appropriate one to use in our classroom. So I'm going to leave this web tour right now, and I am going to come back to the slide deck. Okay. Does everybody see on the screen now a Venn diagram looking like slide? Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Wow. The technology is working well. Okay. So let's start by looking at D2L Brightspace. Have any of you used D2L or Brightspace? You know what? I'm going to call it D2L. I know that it's actually Brightspace by D2L, but I'm just so used to saying D2L. I'm just going to call it D2L. Have any of you used D2L in the past before? Cool. Okay, cool. Okay. So D2L is what we call a learning management system. So what that means is that you could actually run like an e-learning, entirely online course where there's no face-to-face interaction, and it can also be used to support blended learning or face-to-face classes that have an online component or a digital management component as well. We've used D2L for years in our province. It was originally licensed as a tool for just online courses for e-learning. And then a few years ago, they opened it up and increased their contract to include all of the face-to-face classes in publicly funded school boards across Ontario. And so we use it. There are a few learning management systems out there that are well known. Mike there has mentioned Blackboard, and Blackboard is one that a couple boards used or still have active. and are transitioning to D2L. A lot of universities also use Blackboard. A lot of universities and colleges also use D2L. And there's also Moodle is another learning management system. And there are a few others out there, WebCT and some other ones, but Sakai. But D2L is one we use. And basically it has a whole host of tools in one environment. And it has news items. So the teacher can post items or links every time you put a new news item in, it pushes the old ones down. So a lot of teachers use that on their class homepage in D2L. It has an area called content, which is kind of like your binder. Everything is in a linear order, and you can put like web pages and information and links and lessons. You can put quizzes in there and activities and drop boxes, and you can put them all in order. It has a grades tool, or basically just a grade book. There is a chat tool, and the chat tool is actually a synchronized chat, just like this chat box is right here that we're using in our environment tonight. And once students log in, you'll see their login, and you can have an online discussion real time. So I've used that tool in classes before when we're watching like a TED Talk, and the science was above my students, but the idea was to kind of provoke some interest in that, and they ask questions in the chat tool about the science that we're learning, and then we consolidate all those questions and go off and do research and bring it back to share with the class. I've seen some other teachers have chats in class when students have questions to get some help with different work that they're working on, and other students can help them as well. And the blog tool in D2L, at least in our OR unit, has actually been disabled now. So I'm not going to focus in on the blog component of D2L. There's a quizzing tool, so you can make multiple choice, short answer, long answer, matching, and fill in the blank questions in a quiz. And any of the multiple choice or fill in the blank and matching you can set them up to grade themselves. The short answer and the long answer you would have to go in and assess and provide a score to. There is a Dropbox tool in D2L where students can upload files that you get, all with their name on it and organized in a nice way. And then there is, my favorite part, is this discussion tool. And the discussion tool in D2L, I like it because it's threaded and it's rich. So students can post media and links, and they can format their responses, and then when they respond to someone, it shows it indented. So it shows that kind of threading of the conversation. And the other tool that D2L has is this Eportfolio Tool. And the Eportfolio Tool lets students put reflections or artifacts of learning, and it's not connected to just the course that they're in. So if I was a student in D2L right now and I'm assigned to Jacqueline Calder's science class, then at the end of the semester, when the teacher deactivates that course, then that's gone and I don't have access to it anymore. But anything I've put into my ePortfolio stays with me until I leave. So for our students, that would be grade 12 when they're actually leaving, and then they can export their ePortfolio at that point in time if they want to. So the ePortfolio carries with them over their educational career, and it can be shared with other people. So they can share it to teachers, to other students for feedback, and that type of thing. So my plan is to go in and do a little tour where I share my screen of D2L. Does that sound, and just kind of gloss over some of these tools to see it, and then I'll show you a place where there's lots of resources on how to do it. But we won't get into really like step-by-step how to do it, but again, just looking at what the tool can do. Does that make sense for most people to have a little tour of D2L right now? Would that work? Okay, I'm seeing some check marks.
And Jacqueline, when you do your screen share, I know that Brooke, because she's had a little bit of lag already, just try and go slow, especially if you're scrolling.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. And Luis, if you could pop up with the audio and let me know, because I won't see the chat if something does kind of act buggy.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you. Okay, so I am going to go in and try and share my my screen. Okay, Louise, can you let me know when you see what looks like e-learning Simcoe County District School Board show up?
It's coming slowly but surely for me. Okay, it's open and settled for me. So know what, folks, we're going to definitely use our green check mark tool here. I'm going to clear that and give us a green check mark if you see the e-learning page. And Brooke, let us know how you're doing. Oh, okay. All right, perfect. If you had something loading or streaming or something, that might have been the issue.
So this page that I land on is kind of like my entry point to D2L, and every school board will look different. It depends on how they set it up. There are definitely some common elements. And in our school board, we have teacher resources that are pasted here, so like links to digital tools and materials that can help a teacher with D2L and how to access help. And then along the very top, am I good to go now, Louise, to flip to another screen, or am I going to mess things up?
No, everything looks good.
Okay. So up along the top, I have select a course. And if I click on that, I get a whole bunch of courses because I'm managing the unit. I get lots of them. Most teachers will just have courses they've taught in the past or courses that they have right now show up. So I'm just going to go into kind of a dummy course, if you will, that I have. And then that will take me to that course landing page. Students would only see their, say, 4 courses if they had 4 teachers using them, using D2L, or their 2 teachers. They would just see those courses that are active. And this blended learning resources page, this is a sample of what, and it's not a really good example, I'll be honest, not a pretty one. There are some much prettier D2L course homepages out there. But this is an example homepage. So you can change the look and the feel. So I could change that color. And in our school board, we have a default look and feel that is actually prettier than this one. It has some nice icons at the top for the course content and discussions, and it has a little Simcoe County logo up here. This one is actually kind of blah looking, but it has all the features that we need, and it's something I can play around in. So again, there's this news right here, and most people actually have their news in the middle, but anytime I want to add a new news item, I can add a new news item, and it pushes all the other ones down. So that's one tool that a lot of teachers make use of. Some teachers actually just use that tool. And that's the nice thing about D2L. While D2L can be scary because it is a very large and complicated tool, it can scare some people off because there are so many layers and steps and things to set up when you're working on it. The learning curve for D2L can be quite high, but the rewards are very high. So it takes a lot longer to learn than the other tools that we're going to look at tonight, but it's much richer, and it has far more layers and capabilities than the other tools, and it's all in one place. So D2L, again, large learning curve, lots of payoff once you get into it. So that's the news tool, and some teachers set up the news tool to take up this whole page, and that's all they use. So they're just pushing links and materials to their students. And that's what they use it for. A lot of teachers use the combination of this and put their news on the front page, and then I'm going to click now onto the discussions page, and then they also use the discussions page. So this is the teacher view of it, so there's a bit more than a student would see, and you can see that there's a general discussion forum here. I'm going to click on, and as a user I could start a new thread, or I could reply to one that's already coming up. So I'm going to start a new thread, and I'm just going to call it demo discussion. So this right here is one of the reasons why I quite like the discussion forum, and it's because you kind of have a full-on text editor here. Whoops. So I could post a link. So if I wanted to post a link to that site that we were just on earlier, I can add a link right here, and I can go to the URL, and add in that link. And let's go for a new window. I want that link to open up in a new window, so it leaves the discussion forum open and there. And I can have paragraphs, I can have lists, I can have bold, all the same features. I can insert videos and images. So this insert stuff here allows me to enter in something from my ePortfolio or for YouTube or Flickr or the OERB or Learn 360. I'm just going to cancel that though. So you can put in media here, and then there's these 3 dots over on the far right that allow you to do even more. And there's some math equation editing in here. So it's just a very rich discussion forum. I'm just going to post that. And then when I click on one now, if I wanted to reply to it, one of the other things I can do is, here's the response I could put here if I wanted to, but I can also record audio. So under the attachments, I can click on that. I could record some audio. I am recording an audio reply. It means that I don't have to always reply to my discussion prompts in text. I could play that and listen to it, but you won't hear it because I've got my headphones on. So I'm actually going to just save that. And then that shows up right here. And I can post my response, and it shows up with the text and with the audio file there for folks to listen to. So it really kind of levels some of that playing field, or provides another way for students to respond. They can do pictures, there's media they can embed into there, and record audio right within the tool. So a lot of teachers, I did not just call teachers tools, a lot of teachers, I'm just going to go back to the course home now for this, make use of just the news tool and the discussion tool within D2L as their starting component to allow that every student to have their voice and the online sharing, student feedback with each other. I'm going to go in and look at the content piece now. So this is like the binder. And you'll see that down the left-hand side, you'll see different folders or different headings. And we're just in this kind of sandbox down here. And basically, this is a PDF. This right here is a Dropbox. So if I click on that, again, this is from the teacher's point of view, not the student's point of view. But if a student clicked on that, it would allow them to upload a file to submit as an assignment. And it would actually also allow them to record an audio file if they wanted to. This is actually a checklist. So if we click on it, I'm going to preview it right here. So a student was using this. Oh, I didn't actually make anything to actually check in my checklist. This would show up with little check boxes if I had done that properly. Sorry about that. I'm going to go back to our, here we go. This is a link to another page. This is well, let's find out. I think that's a chat. Yes, that's a chat. So this is, if I've used a chat tool, I can click on it, and it opens up. I changed my name in the chat to be Mrs. Awesome, or Ms. Awesome, just because I was being silly one day. So, and it's the real-time chat. So the discussion tool was threaded discussions. This is a real-time chat tool. And as a teacher, you set up the time and the access. So you can remove it when it's not up and running, or you can leave it running all the time depending on your need. We're going to go back to that folder and see what else is in my binder or my content. That's an ePortfolio collection. That's another Dropbox. And then this is a quiz down here. I'm just going to go through and take a look at the quiz. This is, as a teacher, I can set it up here, or I'm going to go in and preview it. So as a student, I see the information, and I have unlimited amount of time. This one hasn't been timed. I get one attempt. I can set it to have more attempts if I want. Start the quiz. And this is what it looks like for students. So all the questions are listed on the side, so I can jump ahead to them if I want to, but it also lets me see if I've submitted any of them. So list three equivalent. I'll just put in something for now. and save. And what we'll see is that that little blue icon there highlighted blue, and it's the save disk, and so it shows me that I've finished that question. So for here, I can answer questions, and then I can go down and click save, and it changes that to highlight. So I can see how far I've done, and then I can go at the very bottom. I can save all my responses, and I can submit my quiz. And it's going to warn me that I didn't answer a whole bunch of questions. And then submit my quiz, and there it's done. So I'm going to go back to the home page of my course. There we go. And if I want to go back into my content, it's right there. And so as a student, these are little check boxes. I'm viewing it as a teacher right now, but I can check off those. So it can be complicated, but there are so many different tools in D2L that the learning curve it might be steep, but it's pretty rich. I'm going to go back to the home of D2L. So I'm going to leave this course and go back to the home of D2L. And here I'm going to look at the ePortfolio. So my ePortfolio, again, it's separate from all my classes. And you can see these are items or artifacts of learning that I have posted all before. They're all nonsensical, and I can create a new presentation or a new collection. I can look at all my items in a list this way. There we go. And then I can add a new link, a new reflection, or a link to a web page. I can upload a file from my computer. I can upload something from the web. I can make an audio recording. I can add some form responses and some stuff from within the course. But again, the audio recording is another rich tool to provide options for students to reflect. So I was working with some co-op teachers recently who were talking about all the co-op journals that they have students do and how sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get that back. You know, these students are so awesome in their co-op placements, and then they don't quite finish all their journals, or they don't do that. So they're trying, by using D2L and some of the ePortfolio component and Dropbox audio recording, they're using the audio recording to allow students to submit that and to reflect. So again, they can do the audio recording right there. I'm just going to cancel instead of doing it again. And so I think that is a brief tool of D2L. Louise, can you see if there's questions in the chat, or if there's any requests on a certain tool within D2L anyone would like to see that I've missed? And then just let me know before I come back.
Nothing's in the chat yet. Folks, if you have anything before Jacqueline comes back out of that one, let us know. Or give us a green check mark if you're good. Thanks, Mike. And Zarena. Is everybody else good? Okay, Brooke's good. Sandra or Susan, if you have any questions, let us know. But I think, Jacqueline, you can probably come on back.
Perfect, thanks. I'm just going to show you one of the things at the bottom of the home page. In our school board and in many school boards, we've put links to ministry licensed tools that have the ability to be integrated so that they don't have to log in twice. So if someone accesses Mindomo from here, they don't have to log into Mindomo separately. Same with our Google Drive and some of our other tools here. So different boards are at different stages and have different abilities depending on the tools they use to do integrations, but you can always check it out, and it does reduce some of the login requirements that we put on our students. The other thing we have in our board is that we integrate our Google Apps. Mine personally doesn't work because I have like 200 gigs of files in my Google Apps. It's just an overload mode. And then I think, and then in our school board as well, ours is integrated with our student information system. So if I take a look at the courses that are in here, you'll see that it's course code and then a teacher's name, the semester. It's a very long code. our teachers' shelves are automatically created depending on what they're connected to in we use PowerSchool. Some boards use Trillium, or maybe there's still Maplewood out there, that type of thing. And so depending on what your information system is and the integration level that you're at with your board, our teachers have shells that are already created based on all the courses they're assigned to in the student information system, and then they can activate them if they want. So that saves us from ever having to import students and whatnot. Sometimes we have to manually import students when we combine courses or have different situations, but that's that. So I'm going to show you one other place. So if D2L is something that you're interested in exploring more, I'm going to paste this link into the chat when I come back. It's coursehelp.ca. And this is a wealth of information and resources. It is created by somebody who was in the same role that I am right now, this TELT role, at a different school board last year, named Tim Robinson. He was up in Moosonee, and he's created this site, and it is amazing. So I'm going to go to the D2L Brightspace Help Resources just to show you a little bit. And if I'm interested in looking at the news tool, or the content tool, or class list tool, these are all the different tools within D2L. So let's say I'm interested in the discussions. I'm going to click on it. And here's an introduction, a PowerPoint. Here's a slideshow that takes me through step by step. How to create learning journals. There's all sorts of different resources right there, and they are fantastic resources to help you out. I'm just going to pull this one up. So here we go. Here's an introduction to discussions, and I can scroll through it. And the ones that are the slide deck, so there's videos that show you the big picture on how to do it, and then these ones here actually will go through and show you step by step the parts and how to set it up. So this site can be very, very helpful. Okay, I am coming back now. How do I stop sharing? Here's my file. Like that. There we go. Oh, and thank you for putting that link in there for me. Louise, I appreciate that. Okay. Any questions or thoughts on Brightspace? Has anyone either used D2L or had heard of a way that someone else has used D2L that kind of interested them or kind of made them think? Any thoughts around D2L? Very similar to Blackboard, Mike. So I've never run Blackboard as a teacher. I've used it as a student for my master's program, but I've never run it. And when I hopped into it, I just felt like even the tools were named very similar things. But yeah, absolutely, Sandra. There are different components to the Blackboard that make it beneficial and challenging at different times. What I found recently is the idea of teachers just putting the one tool they want as their homepage. So they're just choosing maybe just the discussions, and they're making that the homepage of their D2L course, or the whatever, or just the content, and making that the homepage, or just the news tool, to try and lower the complexity, but to get a benefit if they had a specific use for it. Yeah, it can be. There's definitely a high learning curve for D2L. It could be depending on what they want. When I go into Google Classroom, I'm going to show you the difference in the types of discussions kids can have within the two different tools. So, speaking of Google, now Sandra, what tools do you have access to in your board? You have Google, right? As TDSP? Yeah, okay. So everyone here has Google and not Office 365. Yeah, okay, perfect. So up on the screen, I have a list of all the things that are Oh, well, that's got my interest. Up on the screen is kind of an overview on Microsoft Office. So Microsoft Office and Google Apps for Education, the Ministry of Education wrote contracts. Cool. Microsoft Office and Google Apps for Education are both cloud computing options, and they do have different features. So I've heard of another board, and I know our board has both, and then many school boards are choosing one or the other. And the Ministry of Education wrote contracts that boards can use to work with Microsoft or to work with Google, so that smaller boards, especially that didn't have the legal capabilities or capacity to create these contracts, have them in place. So basically they've effectively sanctioned these two different tools as options for cloud computing, if you will. So almost every board has gone one way or the other, or is in the process of doing so. And so they're really compared together more often, and then D2L is also there. But teachers, so that boards often have access to either Office or Google, and then they also have D2L. And so then it becomes just choosing one or the other, unless you're in a board like ours where you have to choose between one of the three. So the components of it that would only work with your, if you had Office 365, the calendar, the email, the OneDrive, although you can get your own personal OneDrive account through Microsoft, it's probably not something you'd be doing with your students if you had a Google Drive. There is a video tool, and the nice thing about the video tool, and also the worst thing about the video tool, is that it's locked down. Only people in our organization can see it, so it's like a YouTube for our organization, but no one beyond it can see. So it's great because we are a little less worried about privacy or publishing on the web, because it's in a very locked down environment. So that makes it really easy and nice for us. But the other thing is that we can't share it. So if we have posted something we're proud of, we can't share it beyond. So a parent without a board account can't access it. Email and OneNote Class Notebook is a really neat tool, but again, it's only useful with Office 365. Basically, a OneNote Class Notebook is OneNote is a tool that can be used to store text, images, links, videos. You can do tables on a PC, on an iPad, on an Android tablet. You can write right on it with like a pen tool or your finger, and it will so you can do math really easily on it. And the OneNote Class Notebook sets it up for your class in a way that the teacher has a folder that only the students can see. They can't edit. And then there's a collaboration area where everyone can edit and work together on projects. And then there's a separate folder for each kid created automatically that just the teacher and the student can see. So it's really good for e-portfolios and for providing feedback, and you can do audio recordings right within it while you annotate student work. So a lot of teachers in our board have started to use that as a tool, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time because it doesn't sound like anyone here actually has access to that tool. So by all means, check out some of the resources that are available on the web. Fire me off an email if you're interested in learning more about that. Yammer is like Facebook for business. So we have Simcoe County District School Board Yammer area, and it is very much like Facebook, and it shows all of the groups within our board. And then we can join different groups. So I can facilitate a technology-enabled learning environment group, and teachers can join in and ask questions about technology and that type of thing, and share things that are working in their class. Office Sway. I'm going to actually show you this tool because it's one of those tools that may or may not be worth creating a Microsoft account for. And I'm just going to share my screen again, and then I'll come back. This will be a lot quicker. So Microsoft Sway is, and you can access it at www.sway.com. Okay. I am just going to unpin this tab and get rid of it. Sorry. Close up some of these tabs here. Here we go. Okay, so the OneDrive, I'm not going to bother spending time on because it's a file storage system just like Google Drive is, and it doesn't sound like anyone here actually has access to that. So I'm going to close that. Here is Microsoft Sway. So Sway is what they call a digital presentation tool or a rich presentation tool. So I'm just going to show you an example of one here. So this is one that I created with just images and text. And then I'll show you another one where I put other things into. So basically you can drag things like text here or a heading. Oops, I'm going to have to refresh my page, sorry. And it lets you just drag components over and put them in order. So I could drag a block or a card for a picture over. I could drag a card for a video over. I could search Twitter and drag tweets in. I can embed any media like YouTube videos and whatnot. And I can put like a stack of pictures or a slideshow in here. And then I can preview it just by clicking over here. And it lets you put in, text and images and all those things, and then you can slide through. That might look pretty wonky on the screen share. I just realized as I'm sliding through pictures. But it lets you slide through what you're working on. And I can change the design and choose a different theme, which would be colors and just kind of that look and feel. I can also change the navigation. So in this case, I had it scroll to the side. I can have it scroll down, or I can have it be optimized for a presentation. And I can tell that there's a question there. Luis, did you facilitate just a question for me?
It's just me. Okay, there. It's finally settled, so we can finally see the tiled pictures there. So I just wanted to let that catch up before you move along.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to Sway here, and hopefully it will be a bit better. And you can share these. You can add authors so that multiple people are working on them together. And up at the top right, there are tutorials as well. And then a link that you can share, or you can embed a Sway onto another site as well. So I'm just going to click on Sway again to go back to the beginning. And I'm just going to go into this one here that was just playing. And if I click over here, so I'm in preview mode, and you can see that I've dragged tweets over. I've got images. I've got this is actually a slide from a PowerPoint. I've got web pages linked, text, and then this is a slide deck, and that's a video. So you can kind of bring over whatever you want and set up your design and your navigation. So I'm going to come back now. Actually, I'll just show you Yammer really quickly here while I'm in here. So this is Yammer, and this is so it looks very much like Facebook, and you can see all of the groups that I've joined in our board, and then I can look for more groups right here. I can't go too far in here because it is a lockdown environment. I'm just showing you an area where just my name is. And I can write a new thing there if I wanted to, a new post. I could do a poll. And in a group, I can add files, and I can pin sites and whatnot here. So it's very much like Facebook, and the reason I'm showing you this is because we'll compare this to Google+ when we come into that. So I'm just going to unpin this tab and close it, and then I'm coming right back. There we go. Okay. Has anyone ever used Sway before, or has anyone ever used Adobe Slate before? They are both very similar tools, and they both have free. They both have free iPad apps. No, so for Yammer, you can actually you can access it with a Microsoft account, but it will be a different set of Yammer communities that you could join. So if there are communities out there that are open beyond their like the business, the organization, then you can go. And yeah, a Sway you can use with any free Microsoft account. You can create a Microsoft account and use it. And it can be published to the web, or it could be more private, absolutely. So one of those I've shared, one of them I haven't. absolutely. And another one to check out, I'm not able to type into the chat, sorry. I don't know if you could just type down these two words for me there, Louise, sorry. Adobe Slate. Adobe Slate and thank you, and Microsoft Sway are both very similar in terms of the types of products. They're almost like pretty interactive multimedia magazines, almost is what they become. And they both have free apps for the iPad, or you can do it on the computer now. So it makes them easy in environments where you have a kind of different types of devices kicking around. So that is so I don't think is there any other questions about Microsoft Office 365 that folks have? I know that a lot of you don't have access to don't use it in your board, so it's not a whole lot to spend on it. But anything else, any other questions, or we're good with that? Okay. I am going to, when I go back into Google, show you one thing, because there is one other difference between Office and Google, and that's the fact that all of my Office tools are accessible from one place, whereas my Google is getting better, but sometimes they're in a few different places. It's a bit more scattered. Okay, so let's go on to the Google. So the Google Apps for Education includes our Google Drive, which is our file. Luis, do you want to ask it now? Does it make sense? Is it within context of Office 365?
Yeah, I can ask it now, and it may be something you just get to later. I'm just wondering
Sure.
if any of these have the capability for working offline and then syncing student work once they're reconnected. I know at my son's school they use D2L, and he'd rather be at home when he has to work on his D2L stuff because the Wi-Fi connection in his school is so bad.
It's a great question. OneNote, the notebook, and if anyone wants, I can show you what a OneNote notebook looks like. Because again, you can use OneNote with a personal Office account, like Hotmail or Outlook account, or Microsoft account. But you can't use the class notebook where it automatically creates a folder for each kid that only you and them can access. It doesn't set up a collaboration space. But you can use it as a teacher to store notes and everything. And you can have the program OneNote installed on any computer or tablet, and it works offline, and then it will just sync when you're online. But the OneDrive does work online unless you have the little program OneDrive installed on your computer. And the same with the OneDrive Microsoft Office, so the Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. They work as little apps on a web browser, or if I open up the Microsoft Word program on my computer, it works offline and can sync to my drive when I get back onto the internet. And then remind me when I'm in the Google Drive to show you how to access or how to make sure that your Google Drive is set up and to access files offline. Remind me, because I will probably forget when I start demoing. Okay, so Google Apps for Education has the Google Drive, which is our file storage. And what you see now is that not only if you're looking on a mobile device, you have to download the free Google Drive app, but now we also download Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets, all as separate apps. And sometimes you can end up at docs.google.com and just go to the Google Docs, and then you're just seeing your documents. No slideshows, no spreadsheets, no drawings, just your documents. So the Drive is really the storage of all of those, all of the different types of tools. And the Docs is where you'll see all your word processed files. The Sheets is where you'll see all your spreadsheets, and the Slides is where you'll see all your slide decks. It also has Google Classroom, which is it's not a learning management system like D2L is, but it is a classroom environment that allows some management of files and assignments and a very basic discussion forum. So when we're talking about learning curve for Google Classroom, it's very quick. You can get right into it and start using it. Although as they add more tools, it is taking teachers a little bit longer just to get completely comfortable in it. But there aren't as many features. So that's when we're comparing these two. It's going to depend on students, teachers, purpose, and what devices and what it is that you're trying to do with it. And so we'll look at Google Classroom, and then we'll see if anyone here, maybe I'll just ask you, is anyone here using Google Classroom at the moment? A little, cool. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a little tour of it, and you'll be able to see the comparison. So again, we have lots of teachers in our school board using Google Classroom, lots of teachers in our school board using D2L, and one thing that we are realizing is that a lot of teachers that start with Google Classroom are moving into D2L and they want more features, but they're integrating Google Drive right into their D2L. And there is a way within D2L to have Google Drive and to use all of those, all of the Google Drive and Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets right within D2L, so that they're trying to get the best of both worlds. And it's not a matter of having to choose one or the other all the time. But we'll do a little tour. Google Sites is a place where students and teachers can create websites. Blogger actually isn't officially part of the Google Apps for Education, but it's a Google tool that you can log into using your same Google account. So it kind of counts. Calendar and Google Plus is the equivalent of Facebook, but for the Google tools. So we had Yammer in the world of Microsoft Office 365, and it's Google Plus here. And then I forgot to list here Gmail, which is the email. And if you're using Google in your school board and not using Office 365, chances are you're using the Gmail. I forgot it because we don't use the email component of Google because we do that through Office 365. So I totally forgot that. Sorry. Haha. Okay, I am going to go back to a screen share just to see if we can get that to work. How was it working before, Luis, in terms of the quality of what was coming through?
Not too bad. I think they could improve the resolution a little bit, but overall it was really quite visible.
Okay, I'll try to, oh, awesome, thanks, Susan. I'll try and do a little less of the crazy scrolling, and I'll go place it with some Google. We'll have lots of blue, red, and yellow on the screen. Okay. Here I go. Okay. I know I'm a little bit spastic, if you will, but this is just to show you what OneNote is, to give it some context of our conversation. You can see I've got all my different folders down here for different students. I have a collaboration space and then a content space. I'm just going to add a page here and just show you that I can just give it a title and that I can type anywhere I go into it. And so that means I can bring in a picture and type over it. And then I can insert audio recordings, links, symbols. And if I was using the version of OneNote that wasn't on my web, if it was like the installed on my computer program, like right here, then I could do the writing on the screen. But that's what OneNote is, different pages. And you can see that I can put in different types of, like images and links and tables and different stuff like that. So I am going to close that now, but I just wanted to give a quick visual because I was trying to explain it, but OneNote's it's very linear, which can be helpful, or it can be limiting depending on how you feel. Oh, I might come back to Office Mix. Okay, Google Drive. So Google Drive is just like the OneDrive, and it stores all of your files. Louise, can you do me a favor and let me know? Could I get everyone to put a green check mark if you've used Google Drive before?
All check marks real quick.
Okay. Any questions about Google Drive? Because I won't spend any time really going over it. There are separate webinars that are entirely on Google Drive, but are there any specific questions that people have about Google Drive in general? There's a hush falling over the room.
Yep, it's all quiet on the question front.
Okay, well, then there we go, Google Drive. So, and OneDrive compares very similarly to it, with the exception that OneDrive doesn't, at least the way my board has it set up right now, we can't share out beyond our four walls as easily as you can within Google. Google, I can work within my Simcoe County District School Board, Google Drive, and I can share outside of my board very easily as well. So I can do all my projects, whether it be in my board or out of my board, all within that same Google Drive. My OneDrive, it's a little more difficult sometimes to share outside beyond our four walls, but it's getting better and better as we go, but that's my initial finding. So I tend to use Google Drive just because it's where I happen to be more comfortable, but that's just kind of my place where I am right now. I think I also like the fact that when I go to create a new file, I can create my docs, sheets, slides, or drawings and forms right all from that same spot. Okay, so up at the top right is my little grid for Google, and that will take me to my other Google apps. When I was in Microsoft Office, everything was in kind of in one place. So I'm going to go into Google Plus to show the difference between, okay. So in Google Plus, this will be in looking at, if we're comparing it to a tool in Office 365, it was Yammer, all which are very much like Facebook. And here, the biggest reason why we aren't using it as much for our in-school board communities is that when I go to communities, I'm not just seeing my school board. And all of my school board groups aren't all in the same place. So whereas when I was in Yammer, they all show up right there, and you can see really, they're all kind of in one place. And so that's why we found it easier to get folks to join our Yammer groups, because you can see all of them and they can choose right from there. That being said, they're very similar tools in terms of how you type in your post, choose who's going to see it, links, and upload videos, and that type of thing. And they are just kind of, it's a very much a social network. Great for supporting teacher professional learning, and I've seen there's another Windsor ESSEC, the WECDSB uses it really well to support teachers and to work with teachers as well as some students. So that's one Google tool. And here is Google Sites. So again, I can access that from my little grid at the top. I've got the, where's my sites? There they are, right there. And this is where it takes for me. And so I can look at, this is a site that I made a while ago, but I'm just going to look at it, and I'm going to click on Edit. And this is what it looks like when you're editing a page. I can just change the title up here. I can add text wherever I want. I'm just going to delete it because I don't really want to add that crazy text. I can do formatting. I can add a hyperlink, and I can insert images, links, a Google Plus post, or a Drive file, Google Drive file, a Hangout, a map, YouTube video, all that I can install into my groups, and then I just save it. And I can add, if I just cancel out of here, I just tried changes. I can also add a new page right from there. And this telhelp.ca right here is actually, I created it on a Google Sites with these. It took a little bit of wonky stuff to try and get this to work. They're not, they're not perfect. Working with Google Sites, it's good for students creating like portfolios or for teachers to have a home base. And the nice thing about Google Sites is that I can assign permissions for specific courses, pages. So if I wanted, let's see this page here, if I wanted to allow somebody else to be able to access or to edit, just this page, I can do that. So you can give students kind of their own pages to work with, and you can create some interesting collaborative projects within Google Sites. So that's another tool. Within Office 365, they have their communities that are comparable within SharePoint, but they are a little richer in terms of designing sites, but a little bit a really big learning curve again. And right now they can't be shared out beyond the 4 walls, whereas a Google site can be made public. So that, again, the Google tools, the sharing beyond the 4 walls becomes a little bit easier. So I'm going to close this unless I get any questions about it. I'm going to close Google Plus and just look at Blogger here. And so this is Blogger. And you can see all the different blogs that I've got going on here. I'm going to go into the demo blog. And I'm going to just create a new post and title it and put in my text. I can put in images, links, videos, and publish it. And it takes me back to kind of the list of all my posts. Down here I can set my settings. I can change the look and the feel on the template or the layout. And then I'm just going to go to view my blog. And you can see the post I just created. And the idea of a blog is that when you make a post, it pushes the other ones down. And so a lot of teachers in my school board especially do use Blogger because it uses the student's Google account that they already have. So no new accounts for blogging. They can create a blog and use it as a portfolio. They can create a blog as a class, and they can work on it together. So that's Blogger. And then the last one we're going to look at is Classroom. Okay, so this is Google Classroom. All of the courses that I'm either a student in or a teacher of show up right here. And I'm going to go into this one, I guess. So what I can change, I can select a theme. Let's go with, I kind of like the spider. Is anyone here an arachnophobe? Maybe just in case, I'll go with the guitar. There we go. There we go. So you can change your theme, or you can upload your own photo. And you have 3 pages. You have your stream, which is really the main part of your Google Classroom. You have your student list right here and a code that you can give to your students to join. And you have your About page where you can put information, you can put links to calendars, and then you can add materials that you're going to stay static. So maybe a course outline or, I don't know, other things that you might have. And you can upload an attachment or a Google Drive folder or a video or a link. And you can put resources on that page that might stay static. And you can also invite a second or third teacher and have multiple teachers. So I'm going to go back to the stream. Or not. Wiki. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so in my Google Classroom, the plus sign lets me create either, I can find a post from one of my classes that I previously used in archive, so like last semester. I can pose a question that students reply to in the discussion stream. I can create an assignment, or I can create an announcement. So I'm going to create an announcement. Please respond by introducing yourself. And maybe I was going to add a video. I can go search YouTube. And I can add, I'm not sure I really want to risk just blindly adding a YouTube video, so I'm not going to. But I can add a video and it will show up. I will randomly choose a Google Drive folder. There we go. Let's go to, sure, Untitled Drawing. We'll add that as a resource. So my announcement has a file attached for students to see, and they can respond. So here's the difference when we're talking about discussions. If I click on here and I want to respond, I can type all I want. But I can't do any of that editing stuff. I can't add in the rich text, the media, or those types of things right within the chat. I can have discussions as long as I'm not needing to add in media. You would really need a Google Plus group, to have some of those richer full-on discussions, or to do it with maybe within a Google Doc, or to create something called a Google group. So that is that, and then I can also create drop boxes or assignments. So if I go create an assignment, I can, there we go, I can add a Google Drive file. So let's say I'm going to add a document, and here we go. Oops, that's not mine. Let's see. Sure, that one will work. And I can choose, students can just view the file. So if it's just a lesson or information about the assignment and they just need to be able to see it, then I just give them to view the file. If I want to let them edit the file, and that's all of the students can edit the file. So maybe they're signing up for topics. Then I might put out a document where they're all signing up for topics. Or maybe they're putting all their research into one big table. Then I might do that. Or I can make a copy for each student. So any student that clicks on it will get their own copy of the assignment to work on in Google Classroom or in Google Drive. I'm going to assign that. Let's take a second. There we go. And then there's my assignment. So I can see how many students have done it or not done it, and each student will get a copy. And if I click on the assignment title, it takes me into this. All my students' names will show up on the left, and their files will show up on the right, and any comments they've made about this. And then I can assign them grades out of either 1, 20, 50, or 100, and provide feedback, and then return it to them when it's done. So that's kind of how the Google Classroom works. Are there questions about the Google Classroom? Or comments or thoughts or? While you're posting in any questions or comments about it, just a couple things about comparison and looking at D2L in comparison. You can do a lot of the things you can do within D2L here by using other tools. So if I wanted to have a quiz, I could use a Google form and post it within here. If I wanted it to self-grade, I could use an add-on for that Google form. If I wanted to, what are some of the other features? The instant chat, I could put a link to a tool called Today's Meet or an instant chat tool into here. So you can force Google Classroom to do a lot of the things that you can do within D2L as you go and integrate new tools. Sometimes those new tools will need a separate login, but Google Classroom is getting better in integrating and playing well with other tools. And so it will only get better and better in terms of what other tools you can integrate with it, so to save signing on to a bunch of different things. So really the difference between D2L and Classroom is the learning curve. So D2L will take much, much, much longer to learn. And then the amount that you can do. So in D2L, this is Google Classroom. In Google Classroom, I can assign assignments and have them submitted and do feedback. And Google Docs is a great tool for doing peer and student feedback with their commenting features on a Google Doc. So there are some huge benefits to using Google Docs as your way for feedback. But there are limitations, and you have to start bringing in more and more tools to start to get the same kind of feature list as D2L. So it really is about choosing kind of a tool. You can use Google Docs within D2L, but choosing the tool that's right for the teacher and the students, probably more importantly the students than the teacher, but and basically the classroom environment and what you have access to. Any questions there, Louise?
Nope, some nice comments, no questions. Brooke is typing something.
Okay.
I'll wait until Brooke's finished her chat comment.
Well, while we're looking at that then, I'm just going to flip over to this one tab that I brushed over a little bit by accident, is this Office Mix. So anyone that uses a PC computer, meaning not a Mac, but an actual anything PC, Windows, if you use PowerPoint, you can go to Office Mix or mix.office.com, and you can download. You can just click Get Office Mix and download it. It's a little add-on, and it installs into your PowerPoint. And what it does is it lets you record, and you can record voice right over any PowerPoint, but it lets you record your voice and write on the screen and annotate your your PowerPoint slides, and then export it all to Office Mix, and you can integrate questions. So you can integrate like a multiple choice question or a short answer question, and it's basically creating like a little learning module. This not only can be very powerful for teachers to use to do quick little learning activities for students and then get input on how they did it, but for students to create as well if they have access. So here you can see some of the information. And this site has a blog and some support stuff within it. And you'll just see that you can, here's an example of one. I'm not going to play it here, but you can see these little white lines. That's where it converts to other slides. And then there's questions ingrained in it as well. So it's just a way to make a PowerPoint digitized, and it's a free tool. It works on PCs, and it downloads and installs right into your PowerPoint, and then you can work with it through there. So if anyone does have questions about that tool, I can, you can fire me off an email at the end of tonight, and I can look through that, no problem with you.
Susan was just
one other.
What? Not a Mac? And Brooke's chat was just showing that she had a message, but no actual message right now.
Okay, cool. I know they don't have Office Mix for Macs, so that is my instinct is telling me that's an intentional choice that Microsoft made for that. But in terms of Google Apps for Education, so just like probably about almost an hour ago, I showed you coursehelp.ca, and I've showed you TEL, or Technology Enabled Learning Help.ca, for an overview on everything. There's also a site that Tim Robinson and, what's the other man's name? Peter Anello have created, this Google Apps for Education Help.ca, and you can see all the different things across the top: Classroom, Drive, Docs, Slides, Sheets, Forms, Ideas, and Contact. And they've got help resources all through here for Google. So it's just another great site to be aware of. And I have a strong sneaking suspicion that Louise has already posted that in the chat, even though I can't see it. That's how many of these Louise and I have done together. I'm assuming she's already got it in there. And if not, she'll probably beat me to do it, but I've got it copied and ready to paste it when I come back, just in case she hasn't. Let's see. Whoa! Oh, I can't chat. Or I can't type. Okay, so I'm coming back here. I'm going to see if I can fix my chat. There we go. Aha! There we go. Okay, let's see. So, we have looked at the three big major players. There's still a few little ones I was going to look through, but we've tapped on the big major players. Does anyone have a specific situation that they are looking at choosing the best tool for that they'd like to talk about, or they'd like to just mention and get some input on? Any thoughts on a specific situation you're interested in making a decision for a specific digital tool, or choosing a digital tool for a specific reason? I have a series of questions set up here, but I'd love to hear if anyone has an example of something that they would like to choose a tool for. But while people are thinking about that, I will just kind of scroll through some of the questions to consider when choosing the best digital tool. So I'll talk through the example of choosing a kind of a basic learning tool that I'm going to use as my home page for my students. Basically the the place they go to automatically all the time. So the first thing I think about is, what is it that they need to learn? So what a curriculum or learning skills, digital citizenship skills, and 21st century competencies am I looking at supporting over the time I'm using this digital tool? And then what tools might work? So for me, as a landing page or the one-stop shop for my kids that they would automatically log into if they were looking for something for my course, I would be looking at choosing between D2L, Google Classroom, or Onenote. class notebook would really be the 3 tools for me that might work. I could potentially create a Yammer group for my students with a link to a OneNote, maybe. So that's that question. What are the educational benefits of using the tool, and are there board-approved or supported tools that would do the same thing? In my case, both those digital tools are board-supported, so their accounts are created in a way that are non-identifying for my students. So I'm already using tools that are supported by my board and or the province. So that question in that case for me wouldn't be that important. Is the tool any more open than my classroom? Will people outside my classroom walls be able to see student information and work? All 3 of those examples that I mentioned for myself are all locked down environments. So D2L, nobody else can come in unless I give them access, just like my classroom. Same with my Google Classroom, nobody else can see in unless I open the door and invite somebody in, just like my classroom. So for me, those 2 tools are fairly safe. Have I followed all school and board policies? So if I'm using extra digital tools and my students are creating extra accounts online, they need permission. I need parent permission, and or if they are publishing on the web, I also need parent permission. So I have checked my policies. Let's see. Do students have to create an account? So for my example, I probably should have chosen a different example, but their accounts are already created for all of the, thanks Sandra, have a good one. For all of the students in my school board, those specific accounts were already created for them, so they're not creating any new accounts, but there are other tools that we use that they may have to, so I would take that into consideration. And then do I have parent permission if needed? So for these ones, I don't. But if I was doing other stuff, like if we were starting to post to YouTube, if we were starting to share Google Docs beyond our 4 walls and working beyond out and maybe tweeting out material, working online environments with other classes, I would move into the having to have parent permission. And that's how my board policy works for my students. Will students be identifiable? My students' Google accounts and their Office accounts and their D2L accounts are all the same, and it's like mine would be like JACL1234. Like they have numbers and letters mixed in, so it doesn't, and their names aren't attached to them. And then, is there a setting for moderation, allowing me to approve comments before they appear for others to see? So in D2L, when my students have a discussion forum, I could make the settings that it doesn't show up unless I allow it to, so I could try that for a while if I wanted to test it out. In Google Classroom, there isn't that setting. I can't set it up, but I can set it up that students can't comment at all. And I can also delete comments if they were inappropriate. And in a closed environment, my risk for that is a little bit lower. On Blogger, there is a setting for anyone else coming to my site if they want to make a comment. I can moderate it, which allows me to approve the comment before it shows up for others to see. So I always check for that when I'm looking at a digital tool. And then we have talked about this. We've talked about that. And this is one, so I'm wondering who here has heard of OSAPAC before. Has anyone heard of OSAPAC? Yeah, I know Susan has. OSAPAC is a committee provincially that makes it makes suggestions, and it does some of the research, and it provides advice to the Ministry of Education on which digital tools they should be licensing provincially. And so they review tools and then share and then guide the ministry. And and so a lot of provincial tools are available that we don't necessarily know. And every board has something called an OESS representative, which is the person who knows how to access all those tools within your own board. And if you go to the OSAPAC site, you can find out who your board's OESS representative is. Sometimes that's the TELT, like I was explaining earlier on. In my case, it is. So someone from my board would get me no matter which avenue they went down. So if that's one way you could find access to someone on your board to help you access any of the provincial tools. And if you can't find them that way, then give me a shout and I will find the TELT to connect you with in your board and they'll guide you. So that's one way. And I just wanted to go through a couple tools. I know I have about a minute and a half left here. A couple tools that are licensed provincially with teacher and student take-home rights. And I know Susan likes Frames. Frames is one of my favorite digital tools. Chances are, because it's licensed provincially, it's on your school computers. It won't be on Chromebooks. It won't be on iPads. It's a laptop installable program, but it has teacher take-home rights. So if you have your own laptop, you can install it on your own laptop, and it does stop motion and animation in a beautifully simplistic, wonderful way. It is one of the best digital tools for creating animation or stop motion video out there. It is fantastic, and there are some resources and how-to resources linked from that telehelp site, and otherwise ask around if you can't find it in your board. But it is a fantastic tool to look at. Mindomo is another one that's right up there in terms of favorite tools of mine. This is like collaborative mind mapping. So it's like the Google Doc of mind maps. You can create mind maps with 2 or 3 students in there at the same time. It integrates with D2L and Google Drive, and it works on any device. It is fantastic. So again, from the telehelp site, it'll show you how to create your account for a teacher in Ontario. And I think BitStrips for schools, if you go right to that link, that's another tool that's provincially licensed, and you can create your own account right from that, and you can set up a whole classroom environment with students creating comic strips. It's another provincially licensed tool that we have access to. We have access to NFB, or the National Film Board videos, homework help, and there's some other tools here that are great. Take a look at them through the telehelp site, and then if you don't know how to access them in your own board, then try that OESS representative or email me and I'll connect you with the right person. Any other thoughts or questions as we wrap up? No problem. I'm just going to put my email in the chat because I didn't put it on a slide. I thought I had. Please fire me off a question, any questions that you have. If you're in a situation and you want to just talk through trying to choose a tool, then please give me a shout. That slide deck's there for you anytime you want, and that telehelp site. So anything you want, please give me a shout.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And I can see Lorraine's typed in the chat comment there as well. And I am going to drop 3 links into the chat all at once, so don't miss any. You can also click on 2 of those links or live links on the screen right now. We definitely want you to fill out your feedback survey, brand new this year. You are able to get a PDF certificate for your participation tonight by filling out the feedback survey. Once you submit, your thank you page will come up and there'll be a link there that will take you to the PDF certificate generator. You just need to enter your name and the date, and it will spit one out for you to save or print. Of course, we've got our calendar link down there, but we're almost at the end of our fall program. We've got just 2 more webinars this week. One tomorrow night is on Google Apps for Education, but it is full to the max. But we have tons of other resources on our past webinars and resources page, which is also completely revamped for this year. So we definitely encourage you to stop by and do some searches in the past webinars database. I'm going to drop that link in the chat too, actually, because you can fully search it by topic, grade level, presenter, organization. All of it's there, and it's really actually a very good functional search. We're very happy with it. You can just search Jacqueline's name and you will have your own little mini database of amazing sessions, many of which go into greater depth of some of the things that Jacqueline was talking about tonight. Excellent question, Brooke. The winter-spring schedule is being put together right now. We don't have a definitive date for making that public yet. There's still a few other things in the works. At the very, very latest, it would be right when the school year resumes in January. If we're lucky, we'll be able to get it out sooner. But you will get, now that you've registered for a session, you will be on the OTF Professional Learning newsletter list, which means that you will get sent a big email when the calendar is posted that will encourage you to go and check it out. And of course, if you follow us on Twitter at OTF_PD, we'll be posting links out there too as things are ready. So thank you all so much tonight, and thank you, Jacqueline, for yet another very thorough session. And I know that there's many things in there tonight that you go into a lot more detail on. So folks, definitely go and explore those things, and let us know in your feedback now, or send us an email later if you've got some ideas for further sessions that you'd like to see on OTF Connects. So thanks, everybody. Good night.